Guest who's travelled all the way from St Ives in Cornwall and is a wonderful poet and storyteller. He's got a lot of form as well, in that respect. He started out on the road as a poet in the 1970s and has performed with people like Clive Palmer from the incredible string band, a group called Mask. Billy Connolly liked one of his tracks so much, his musical tracks, that he chose it for a Daffodils disc selection. He's toured with a group called Tom Hall and Jay Woodfield of the Radcliffe Stout Band, and he's worked with classical composers, at the last count about 11, writing librettos for operas. Now, bringing it up to date, he runs a weekly musical event called Café Frug on every Thursday night in St Ives, so if you're down that way, drop in, and a literature festival at the same event in May. He's also responsible for, in the autumn, in September, organising readings in St Ives at the September Festival there. So that's it really. He's done a bit, and he's here this afternoon. We're delighted to have Bob Devereux.
Yes, it's very difficult to know how to follow all that. Yes, nothing is ever perfect. If a thing is perfect, it's finished. Nothing is ever finished. If a thing is finished, it's dead. Nothing is ever dead. If a thing is dead, its many parts continue in other forms. Everything is constantly changing. Change is the only constant thing in life. I'm going to do rivers. I'm going to do a longer piece for you. This was commissioned by a composer. He required the words for a choral work, and I got it because Charles Causley was ill. I got the job. So here we go. This is it. Ice cold, crystal clear, fluid form that is reborn. A prickle of life on the spine of the moor, a trickle of perpetual change amongst the granite and the gorse. Steady flow, gentle force, a chuckle of chimes where stone strikes stone, a myriad bubbles that explode, words that well up in a throat. Logic and madness mingled in whiteness, wearing away around the angles, frothing to foam between the boulders, a measure of time stepping down to a valley. Men's vision turned the world around, and water turned the wheels. They made this stream fulfill their dreams. They held it back and harnessed it and used its power to crush and grind. They made it rush to crank the shaft that raised the black ore from the seam. They watched as progress pushed a door to usher in the age of steam. All they foresaw became reality. All they achieved is buried deep, crumbling to rust in memory, and empty husks of mills and mines, the kernel of their purpose gone, live on as haunts of bat and owl. The water turns to an old course, deep now and silent as in sleep, through twisted glades of oak and beech, meandering in morning mist that muffles even smallest sound. There is a stillness that exists within the mirror, in the depths, and that same stillness lingers here, under the river's silver skin, where dappled trout, like shadows, hold their own. The river slides and idles through meadows, where the cattle graze, thigh deep in yellow irises, and flights of summer swallows swoop to slice the dancing water with their sickle wings. This is the marrow in the bone, the stuff of life, the blood that pulses, and the sap of trees. In summer heat, the dancing water, rippling over amber stone, can quench your thirst. The river cradles many, but when the banks burst, she'll steal the baby and death is never far away. The carcass of a sheep, swept down by the river and dragged under. The fleece and abandoned cloak, left to wave in the undertow. The bones, picked clean by crows. The ribs, an empty cage. And all those broken boats, laid up and left to rot in estuaries. The river's final thoughts, unspoken histories, oceans of stories, pickled in brine and stranded on the mud. Ice cold, crystal clear, fluid form that is reborn, a prickle of life on the spine of them all, a trickle of perpetual change amongst the granite and the gorse, steady flow, gentle force, a chuckle of chimes where stone strikes stone, a myriad bubbles that explode, words that well up in a throat. Logic and madness mingled in whiteness, wearing away around the angles, frothing to foam between the boulders. A measure of time, a measure of time, a measure of time, stepping down. This is a short poem, but it's a pantoum, and yeah, I'm going to have it in front of me because I might lose my way. It's called Trink Hill Pantoum. I have watched the flight of the white bird. I've seen the raven on the stone. I've heard a vixen calling to her young. I know the passage of the sun and moon. I've seen the raven on the stone, eggshell, snail shell and brittle bone. I know the passage of the sun and moon, from the rising to the setting and beyond. Eggshell, snail shell and brittle bone, they come from dust, and to dust they are gone. From the rising to the setting and beyond, from dawn till dusk, and dusk till rosy dawn. They come from dust, and to dust they are gone. Arsenic, copper, tin and bronze, from dawn till dusk, and dusk till rosy dawn, hard granite echoes to their song. Arsenic, copper, tin and bronze, slow decay and life reborn, hard granite echoes to their song. Yellow hammer, robin, wren, slow decay and life reborn. I've heard a vixen calling to her young. Yellow hammer, robin, wren, all fear the white bird on the wing. Things happening in Cornwall. I did think that the first set I would concentrate on Cornwall a bit. And things that have happened there in the past, very strange things. When I was working on the deck chairs in the summers and going around as a poet in the winters with musicians, I noticed in about 1972, that a lot of money was produced to encourage the fishermen to improve their boats. And new boats appeared too. And then suddenly in about 1978, they were being encouraged to destroy their boats, to cut them up. Too many people fishing. So this is called decommissioning. They were hanging themselves on the hook. What else was to be done? The bait was tempting, and the struggle was too hard. But to see their craft, a ship out of water, hauled up and gutted, laid open to gulls and scavengers, that was a tragedy. Now their boat, the family tradition, will float in the red dust of memory, a ghost ship behind the curtain, slowly, slowly losing definition. It was an extraordinary time because it was so sad to see these boats being cut up like that. But one school on the top of a hill salvaged one of the boats and had it brought to the school so that the children could play in it. And the boat on top of a hill dried out and fell apart. Very sad. It's very sad. This is a poem about something that happens every year, and it used to be the province of university students and local people. They would go and pick the daffodils in the summers. Now it's teams of people who come from Norfolk to do it. But this is what it was like then, really. Seasonal work. The executions are performed with military precision. 10 to a bunch, 10 inches high, and buds at 10 to 10. Anything shorter, and you'll not work here again. One tract, they shuffle up the rows, treated like serfs and herded into fields to be let loose amongst the daffodils, plucking spring symbols from cold winter hills. I need this one too to read it to be sure. Yeah. I have poetry carved into handrails beside the Tamar. The very first thing, the first poetry that you can find in Cornwall that's publicly there is poetry of mine, short lines, observations, and because it was an oak handrail, one of the things that I wrote on it was to talk to the people looking, we are carved in oak, we will outlast you. If we are chosen well, we will outlast the oak itself. But that led, because I thought I was going to do a lot more poetry that you would walk through, to explaining just how important oak was. And this is what I arrived at. Oak fattened the boar. Oak cured the hound. Oak was a shield board for the man. Oak smoked the fish. Oak tanned the hide. Oak sprang the flame that smelted iron. Oak started sparks to fire the gun. Oak with staves of every keg. Oak with a cask that mellowed wine. Oak formed the frame that bore the beam. Oak channeled water, turned the wheel. Oak sealed the sail and was the boat. Oak was the ink that floated words. And if those words are carved in oak, they'll weather every storm at sea. And if those words are chosen well, they will outlast the oak itself. I do Mr. Origami, that would be about right, wouldn't it?
It was Bob, yeah.
I think
You're very well so far.
Yeah, okay. So Mr. Origami is a fantasy. When I was at Kingston Art School, I was sent down into the town to collect collage material from the marketplaces. And I collected Barker's shouts at the same time. And I used them when I came down to Cornwall and wrote a very long piece called Arnold, which is about a poet working on a street market. But alongside it, somebody suggested that I wrote an imaginary character in, a fantasy character, and I created Mr. Origami, and this is him. Come and see the incredible Origami! He'll make your notes fly away before you see them go. Turns a note into a dove, another into a symbol of love, a dragon pop, where's that gone? Pound notes, please. Nothing simple, nothing plain. The picture of the Queen inspires his concentration. Mr. Origami will magic your money away. Ha ha! Ha ha! Mr. Origami. Gather round, my little sea of faces. There's everything to lose and nothing to gain. Mr. Origami, once you've met him, you'll never forget him. Mr. Origami. Ha ha! Ha ha! Ha ha! Oh, what digital dexterity. Watch now as he folds a note into a paper boat and makes it float. out of sight, out of mind, he's so quick. You don't have to be blind to miss the trick. He's faster than the speed of light. Well, not quite, but fast enough, fast enough. Mr. Origami, ha ha, ha ha, ha ha, ha ha, Mr. Origami.
Thank you, Bob. That was wonderful. Bob will be back in the second half. We're going to take a break now, and we'll start again at 4:05. And if I just say, Bob's got CDs and CDs.